Hello everyone, this is Sweet Lou Jeff Luzatter, and welcome to the 2019 Indiana High School Baseball Coaches Association Red Carpet Show. I'm Jeff Luzatter, your host, and our 190th inductee, Ron McClain, Warren Central High School grad. Ron, congratulations on your induction.
Thank you very much.
Want to mention a little bit about your family. Been married to Pamela for 37 years. You have a daughter, Ashley, 35 years old. Attended Indiana University, played football 1971 to 73, and then got to be a student trainer for the basketball team. And of course, you got some heavyweights here, Lee Corso and Coach Bob Knight. We won't talk about any stories about Coach Knight, but how did all that, when you were playing football at IU, how did this training thing all kind of come about for you?
Well, I didn't really play. I was a student trainer for the football team.
Okay,
So
well, I guess like your training.
Yeah, I played in high school, but not in college.
But how'd your training profession kind of get started?
I wanted to be a doctor, and I just didn't have the capabilities. And so I loved baseball. I've always been a baseball enthusiast and fan, and played a lot, but not very good. And so I got into the athletic training program at Indiana, and they assign you to teams as the seasons go on. My first 2 years was with Lee Corso, and then in my second year, I was after football, I joined Bob Knight's second season. That was the year Quinn Buckner and Jim Cruz and those guys Scott May were freshmen. So I was on that group. You have two student trainers for every practice and two for every game. But you alternate, so there's really four of you. So we didn't really get close to the players or anything. We just tape them up, do what the head trainer says, and try to learn something. So we were there that season. That was a good season. Steve Downing was the center, and then at the end of that season, that was been 72, 73. I joined the baseball team in spring under Ernie Andres, and I really liked that. I was the first student trainer to travel Big Ten baseball for Indiana, and I loved it. But I got replaced by the 12th pitcher on a 10-man staff because they were cutting costs and things. But I really liked it. And then I had a job in the summer. I needed to work. I was driving a truck, went by Busch Stadium in Indianapolis, and I thought, I'll just see if I can learn something from this guy. I volunteered with the Indianapolis Indians. They call them interns nowadays, but Max Schumacher found out that he didn't have to pay me, and his eyes bugged out. And as we all know, he was kind of a frugal guy, so he loved it. And I got on. 2 months later, the head trainer with the Indians decided to go back to college, and Vern Rapp took me aside and said, if you want this job, you can have it for the last 6 weeks of the season. He said, Kenny, come over here. Ken Griffey came over, and he says, what do you think of this kid being the trainer for the next 6 weeks? And the Ken Griffey gave me the great recommendation. He said, I don't think he'd hurt anybody. And that was it. That got me the job. And then the Reds hired me at the end of that season, and I had to drop out of IU each December, go one semester at a time. I was still just a junior in college. And so went to spring training with the Reds in 74, and they had 6 Hall of Famers on that team. And it was a great start of a career. I spent 6 years in AAA, and then in 1980 joined the Montreal Expos, and spent the next 25 years in the big leagues with them. And a lot of challenges, a few mistakes, hopefully not too many of them major, but I was never afraid of making mistakes. And I think that's part of having a long career. You just gotta put your nose to the grindstone and do the job.
Of course, when you started, trainers were just kind of getting recognized somewhat, and it's really evolved especially in baseball with the Tommy John surgery and all that specialization surgeries that they have now. That was basically just got started when you were there.
Absolutely, it was, and in fact, I think it was 76 or 77, which had been my third year. They did the Tommy John, and it takes a while to learn the rehab and see if Tommy John was going to come back. People don't know that Tommy John had that done twice. The first one didn't work, but the second one did work. And with the Reds in '75, I had a mentor. The Reds trainer was a guy named Larry Starr, who spent 30-some years in Major League Baseball. And we started the first strength training program in baseball. It took us 2 years just to get the Reds to agree to it. But we were the first team in 1975 to bring Nautilus equipment in the baseball. We chose Nautilus because of the full range of motion exercises. A lot of the coaches and physical fitness gurus of those days thought strength training would tighten the players up, and it might have if you didn't do it right, but we succeeded. It took us a couple of years to get the Big Red Machine guys to do it. I mean, Pete Rose wasn't going to jump on those Nautilus machines, but we got Griffey and Foster, and Tony Perez was probably the most veteran guy that worked out. And of course, they won in '75. And then won it again in '76, so teams are starting to think, well, there might be something to this. When I first started in '74, the Reds, all they did was run a lap around the field and then start throwing the ball.
Right.
From the long toss, and so there was no conditioning. There was a few sprints after the game, but only the pitchers. The other players, even in those days, didn't run the bases except a day or two before the first exhibition game. Very little conditioning at all going on. No off-season conditioning. We changed all that with the Reds, and then I brought all that to the Montreal Expos, they did have a couple of universal machines, universal equipment, and the wrong kind, we thought. So we changed all that. We were the first team in Montreal to have a full-time a strength and conditioning professor from a university. He was the chair of the Concordia University called Exercise Science Program, and he had worked with the Boston Bruins hockey and some CFL football teams, and so we were the kind of pioneers in that area. And teams gradually came on. Some teams still didn't have weight equipment in the mid-'80s.
I want to talk to you a little bit about this Professional Baseball Athletic Trainers Society. How did that come about?
Well, that came about mostly, it is an educational society, and our goals were to help the minor league trainers in their educational demands. And we earned some money by endorsing products like Gatorade and some of the analgesic bombs and stuff. All that money went to scholarships for minor league trainers. It turned out great. They thought we were making a union at the beginning, so a few of the trainers didn't want to join it, but it was quite interesting. It's a big time deal now. They have their own conference and their own. It's part of the winter meetings of baseball, but it's totally an educational program. We've put out books on nutrition, on strength training, on shoulder exercise, back exercise. We have all the team physicians involved and help us with the exact wording of all that, and it's quite a deal.
I got one last question for you. This transpired a few years ago in Major League Baseball, but as trainers, did you guys have any input regarding pitch counts for pitchers and stuff like that? Did you have, scientific proof or something that a guy pitching too many pitches were going to hurt him, and finally Major League Baseball has taken that and ran with it now, and you know, it's basically changed Major League Baseball as far as pitchers are concerned.
Right, absolutely. At the beginning, in the 70s with the Cincinnati Reds, they didn't use pitch counts, but they had a rule that if a reliever pitched more than one inning, now this is the minor leagues, okay? If a reliever didn't pitch more than one inning, he had a day off or was the last reliever used the next day. So he might pitch, but not much. So they went by that rule, and if you went 2 innings or more, you had to have a day off. If you went 4 innings, like a long man, you would have 2 days off. So that's where it started, from my knowledge. And then as we went into Montreal, Dick Williams wasn't using any pitch counts. You couldn't tell him anything, but and I didn't want to stomp on any toes, but they didn't abuse them too bad up there. Sometimes a guy might have had a shutout going, and you'd try to help him with that and might have keep him in a little longer. They quit doing that around the 95 time, about 95, 96. But pitch counts have been in force in the Expo organization since the early 90s when Philippe Alou came in. Now he was an outfielder, first baseman, but he was a great pitching guru. And we had a guy named Joe Kerrigan who's best known for helping Randy Johnson become the star he was. And they not only had pitch counts, but they called the pitches to the catcher. And as to my knowledge, that was the first team to ever do that. Mm-hmm. So we were pioneers in some things, but didn't make us right. We never did win a world championship.
And last question, what's this induction mean to you, Ron?
Well, I'm thrilled. I mean, I was never a good baseball player except in Little League, but once we got to the regular size field, my average went down. All I could do was run, and I did play. I played up until I hurt myself in football in high school and didn't get to play in my junior year. So that was my last time. I couldn't throw after that, and but I loved baseball. I always have, and I loved the career. And the fact that you guys are acknowledging trainers is really impressive to me. I appreciate it so much, and my whole family's excited. They're all going to be here tonight. I really appreciate it.
We'll look forward to your speech later on.
All right.
Congratulations.
Great, thank you.
Ron McClain, the 190th inductee in the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame. We'll be right back with our next inductee.